everybody, it's Zuri. Welcome to another tutorial. In this video series, I'll be doing some sketching and painting indoor botanicals. I'll be sharing some of the sketches used in this video for free, so go find the link in the description. To begin, let's remember to lower the opacity on the sketch layer, and also make sure you lock that sketch layer so that you don't end up drawing on it by accident. I will begin by filling up the leaves of the plant, and although I am going to be using some of the brushes I have created myself, I will also be giving you options from the Procreate Brush library to achieve similar results. For my leaves, I'll be using a brush from the watercolors I made, and it's called Filler Wall. A great alternate option to this brush is the Salamanca, which you can find inside the painting set of the brush library. Find the painting set, and it's called Salamanca. And the other one, which is a good option to fill up the leaves, is in the inking set, and it's called Tinderbox. And with that one, you might have to lower the opacity to 65 or 70% if you decide to do it with the Tinderbox, just to give it a more watercolor look. So remember to paint the leaves in 3 sections. So I have opened 3 different layers, and I'm gonna split the leaves in 3 different layers. I will also use 3 different tones of greens. They're gonna be similar to each other, but that will add a better visual interest to the finished art. And I'll be sharing the hex code with you on the screen. So let's go ahead and start filling up the leaves. My leaves are showing a little bit of the back, so what I did when I was painting the part was just lower the opacity on the color and use the same color with a lower opacity to paint the back of the leaves. So now that we are done filling all the leaves, we're going to go ahead and add the shading and adding edges to the leaves so that we have some dimension and make the leaves look like separate from each other. So first I'm going to go ahead and add a clipping mat on top of these 3 layers that I use for the leaves. You can adjust the blending mode depending on the look you want. Some blending modes will make the shading and the edges look too dark. It might not look natural unless you're looking for a dramatic look. I like the shading to look kind of green so that it looks natural and the plant looks healthy. The brush I selected for my edges is the soft pastel, and that one is inside the sketching set. So if you go right here, you already have this brush. Go in the sketching set, and it's called Soft Pastel. That's the one I'll be using. But another great option is go in the drawing set, and you can use phrasing it. So you can see how they look and choose the one you like the most. Alright, so now that we are done shading all the leaves, I'm going to go ahead and merge the clipping mat with each layer where they correspond to. And this is the part where we add the watercolor stamps to the leaves. Go ahead and add some clipping mat on the layers that contain the leaves where you want to add stamps. In my case, I'm only going to add some watercolor stamps to the big leaves. I'm not going to add watercolor stamps on each leaf because then it might look too crowded. So on top of that layer that had the big leaves, I'm going to go ahead and add a clipping mask. Also very important, until you decide exactly the size and the position of each watercolor stamp, you're going to want to add a new clipping mask for each stamp. So I'm going to go ahead and start, and a good alternate stamp for the Procreate Brush library, if you already don't have a watercolor set with stamps, is going to be found inside the water set. And the name is Blotch. That's the stamp I'm going to be using today. So I'm going to go to my clipping mask on the big layer, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp. And oh, wow, that looks beautiful. So before I keep going, I'm going to make sure that's where I want my stamp. You can change the size and change the position like so. I'm gonna do that. Alright, once I know is where I want it, I'm gonna go ahead and add another clipping mask right there and add another stem. Next one's gonna be like right here. Alright, another clipping mask, and don't worry, you're gonna end up like merging all these masks later. Once I know I'm happy with the positioning and the size, so this one right here look like he's in that layer too, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that one. Alright, I like that. Let's see where else can we put that one. Maybe this one right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the last one. Make it a clipping mask. I want to turn it so that it doesn't look the same as that one. You can use different stamp if you have them, but I'm just giving you this option in case you don't have any watercolor brushes. You can always find options in your library. I'm gonna move this one more up here. There we go. And I like that. Alright, so once you're done with all the stamps, you can go ahead and merge those layers down. Put them all together in one layer. Alright, so once you are done and you are happy to the placement of all the watercolor stamps, go ahead and merge them all in one layer for now. And add a new layer, a regular layer on top of everything else, because we're about to add a highlight on top of the leaves before we add the fine detail. So add a new mask, and for this I'm gonna go to the soft airbrush from the airbrush set. And you have these brushes too, airbrushing, and then soft airbrush. Alright, make sure it's not too big. For me it's gonna be about 3%, but try to judge yourself what you like and what look good on your art. I'm on my new mask, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna increase the opacity of my sketch so that I can see the lines of the leaves again for now. And I'm gonna lock it again to avoid any accidents. Back to my new layer, and now I'm gonna change the color. I'm gonna be sharing this with you on the screen. Yep, that's it. Alright, so that's the color I'm gonna be using for the highlights. But once you're done adding all the highlights, since this is on a separate mask, I'm gonna go ahead and go to adjustment tools, under the adjustments tools, and Gaussian blur, and increase that to about 3, 4. I like 4%, so I'm gonna keep it that way. Alright, so now this is the part where we add the fine detail on the leaves. So with a darker color, go ahead and go to your inking set of brushes, and I like to pick syrup for this. I'm gonna keep it small, we're gonna go ahead and add the details. You can add a new mask, or you can do it on the same, you can add a new layer, or you can do it on the same layer where you did the highlight. I'm gonna go ahead and do it on a separate layer for now, and then I merge down later when I know everything looks the way I want it to look. Alright, so we are done with the leaves of the plant, and you can go ahead and merge down the details, the stems, and if you want, you can go ahead and merge those leaf layers on. Alright, so now that we are done with the leaves, it's time to add a new layer to color the base. So since I want the base to be a color white, like a white tone, it's not pure white, I will share the code with you on the screen. I will fill in the base with a monoline brush inside the calligraphy set. This monoline brush. And the reason I'm not using a watercolor brush for the base is because the base is going to be such a light color. I don't want the background to show through the base as it would happen with a watercolor brush, which I sometimes don't mind using, but this time I want my base to look like solid light color. So it's really hard to paint. Since it's really hard to paint with such a light color over a white background, because you can't really see what you're doing. See my background, so I'm gonna go ahead and go to this background layer, and I'm gonna slightly change the color for now, like so. It's not gonna be like that later. We're gonna turn it back to white, but for now, while I color the base white, it's gonna be this color. That way I can see what I'm doing. So to color the base, I'm gonna go ahead and add a new layer, which I did already, and I'm gonna bring that under my plant. Alright, so once you are done filling up the base, go ahead and add a new layer on top of that one, and now it's time to color the base. And to color the base, I have chosen a gray, and I'm gonna leave the dark gray to shade the legs. So on your new layer, go ahead and fill the legs of the base. To make the process a little easier, I'm just going to go ahead and, for now, duplicate that layer 3 times, and then when we are happy with the placement, we can go ahead and merge the 3 legs in one layer. Alright, so once you are done filling the base and the legs, to add some dimension and depth to the legs and the base, I'm going to add a clipping mask over both of those layers. I'm going to do the legs first. The brush for shading the legs will be the soft pastel that we used earlier to shade the leaves. So that's going to be under sketching and then soft pastel right there. And then I'm going to choose a darker gray and make sure you are on the clipping mask for the legs. Alright, so I shaded my legs already. I'm going to go ahead now and change to the clipping mask of the base. And the brush I will use to shade the base is a soft blend from the airbrush set. Soft blend. And I'm going to change to a light gray. And I'm going to go ahead and shade the borders and the bottom and maybe down here by where the leaves are, because they are giving shade to the base to make the base look like more rounded. Alright, so we are done with the plan and the base. I'm going to go ahead and merge these layers. Merge the leg with the base too. And now it's time to add some splashes around the picture. The picture is already done, so I'm going to go ahead and add the splashes. For the splashes, you just pick some of the color we have already used. I'm going to choose this one and maybe the lighter green. And the brush to add the splashes is going to be under spray paints, and it's called Flicks. So the amount of splashes is up to your taste, but be intentional when you place the splashes, as you don't want them to take the focus away from the focus point of your art or make it look too messy. So before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and change the background color back to pure white, and you can do that by double tapping here on the left top corner. And for the splashes, I'm going to add a new layer for each splash for now. The same thing that I did with the stamps, so that I can choose the size and the placement. And once I'm happy with the placement and the size of the splashes, I go ahead and merge them together in one layer. Also, you can add some lighter splashes on the leaves. I'm gonna go ahead and do that with this light creamy color. I will share the code with you. Add a new layer. Alright, so now I am happy with the placement and the size of my splashes, so I'm going to go ahead and merge those layers together. And the last part we're going to do is add a background. I'm going to go ahead and do that and add a layer under everything else that is painted already, and that's going to be my background layer. For the background, I'm going to use a brush everybody already have, and it's going to be under the water set of brushes, and it's called Wet Sponge. Alright, so once you have your brush pick and your color, which I'm going to share with you, go ahead and go on that layer that is under everything and work in circular motion. Avoid making straight lines or pressing too dark on the pencil, because this brush reacts. And this brush also you can use it to blend. Remember that every time you leave the pencil and put it back down, it's gonna make it go darker, so be mindful of that. Alright, so that's my background and I'm happy with that. Alright, so that concludes this tutorial. As you can see, we have beautiful results, and the majority was just brushes from the brushes you already have in the Procreate Brush library. So that concludes this tutorial. Thank you for choosing this channel to learn and expand your skill. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know what other tutorials you would like to see in this channel. In the meantime, I will continue to complete a series of videos that will include other kinds of watercolor botanicals. Thank you for watching. See you next time, and please remember to subscribe, like, and share this video.